the most vulnerable areas for the community will be exposed ridgelines like Old Topanga Skyline, Greenleaf, Burnwood, Santa Maria Road, and View Ridge. When we think about strategic field breaks, we need to place them where they would serve a purpose to the community, and even the bigger picture would be to stop this thing happening from going valley to valley, county to county. So let's do a background on why these projects came in the first place. So we have a governor's emergency proclamation. These projects authorized were originated through the governor's emergency proclamation. The proclamation was issued to accelerate critical fuel reduction projects in high-risk, vulnerable areas like Topanga Canyon. It further called for a temporary authorization that suspends certain environmental laws and regulations to fast-track projects that would normally take years of approval while still protecting public health and environment. So the EPP, Environmental Protection Program, was developed to coincide with the governor's proclamation. All the projects under the suspension must follow the state environmental protection plan and must apply only to the already approved project areas. The suspension is designed to be able to remove the usual extensive delays while still honoring the intent of the laws and protecting the environment. To comply with the EPP, MRCA submitted a work description treatment plan along with a long-term retreatment plan and project maps. Important to note, we cannot shift treatments to different locations, expand into unimproved areas, or add any new treatment areas beyond what is originally authorized. We're getting a lot of questions about that. So part of the EPP is the type of fuel reduction projects eligible. The following project types, the following project types qualify for environmental suspension under this proclamation. So it's that included the removal of dead and dying hazardous trees, vegetation removal to establish strategic fuel breaks, creation of community defensible space, vegetation clearance along roadways, highways, and freeways, and key ingress and egress evacuation routes. Prescribed fire treatments like broadcast burning and pile burning, and then maintenance of previously constructed fuel breaks. Along with that EPP, qualified responsible parties. So all projects must be conducted by or under the direction of one or more qualified responsible parties, such as forester, certified burn boss, qualified incident commander, authorized cultural burner. We have a certified rangeland manager, qualified vegetation management contractor, or a certified arborist. For LA County Fire, we have a forester on site every day as a project manager and liaison. We also will have a certified burn boss and qualified incident commander. The funding source to fund these projects come from the the Climate Bond Prop 4, Proposition 4. And to clarify, this is not an annual clearance funding source for the MRCA. So Prop 4 funding involves multiple state agencies, boards, and conservancies, all coordinated under the umbrella of the California Natural Resource Agency as the lead entity. Through CNRA and the governor's office, partnerships were established across the state department and local jurisdictions to implement these projects. So as part of this collaborative effort, we partnered with LA County Fire and Ventura County Fire to carry out the work. Importantly, the projects authorized under the EPP are not just limited to agency-owned land. The focus is on protecting vulnerable communities within the WUI. by creating strategic fuel breaks and reducing wildfire risk across both private and public lands. So the treatment types that have been authorized, mechanical treatment such as mastication, mulching, and chipping can rapidly reduce fuel load and change vegetation structure in targeted corridors. They create safer ingress and egress for residents and firefighters. They are effective for reducing ladder fuels and ground fire potential. They can be used near homes, infrastructure, and sensitive areas where prescribed fire is not an option. Hand crews are used for precise manipulation of fuels where machinery cannot go on steep slopes or sensitive habitat like riparian areas. They are great for creating shaded fuel breaks, control lines for burn operations, and in short, they're good for selective thinning rather than blanket thinning. Prescribed burns, when done strategically and surgically in shrublands, can be a great tool for breaking continuity of the fuels and to create buffers so that firefighters have a better chance to defend structures. They reduces accumulated hazardous fuel and can improve ecosystem health by recycling nutrients and promoting fire-adapted plant species. So in the WUI, where chaparral can push flames directly into structures, this separation is vital. Prescription grazing is a low-pack method now and used for fine fuels, which can help decrease fire intensity and perfect for steep terrain and hard-to-reach areas. Each project, whether it is a mechanical clearing, manual clearing, prescription grazing, or prescription fire, will help protect communities using best management practices. Okay, so I have a map of a historical fire perimeter, time burned since 1950. You can find this in the CAL FIRE, on the CAL FIRE website. The map illustrates how many times each area in California has burned since 1950. The CAL FIRE website provides a color-coded legend. So the darkest burgundy shows CAL FIRE has recorded 7 or more fires since 1950. Lighter burgundy areas have burned 4 to 6 times since then. And then the red colors are areas that have burned 2 to 4 times since 1950. Light tan color is areas that have burned fewer than 2 times. And then the white areas there's no recorded fire history since 1950. So in short, the darker fire perimeter has burned more frequently than areas that have not burned in the past several decades. But if you click on any of the areas, we haven't, obviously clicked Topanga, it'll tell you what year that fire burned, how many fires have burned. And so you can see on the left-hand side, the burn from New Year's Eve, 1958. You can see the burn scar that it burned, and then also on the right side here with the 1993 Old Topanga fire. So Topanga does need these strategic fuel breaks. As it's listed, the canyons are, steep slopes and winding topography act like a wind tunnel. Hot, dry winds push fire up slope at extreme speed, and then fuel break can interrupt this natural fire freeway by slowing the flames long enough for the firefighters to get control. Much of Topanga's chaparral hasn't burned in decades. The vegetation is mature, drought-stressed, resin-rich, highly flammable, and has accumulated far beyond natural levels. This can all create fire explosive behavior. So thousands of homes are surrounded by brush, often within feet of structure. A single ember shows showers from a nearby ridge can ignite multiple homes at once. And then, as you're all well aware, Topanga has narrow roadways and only a few evacuation corridors. So fire engines struggle to navigate these tight canyon roads, and aerial support is limited by wind and smoke. Fuel breaks will create safer anchor points, provide staging areas for fire engines, and give crews room to operate and cut off advancing fire trucks. And that is a picture from the 1993 Old Paint fire. Okay, so this map this is the map overview of our projects, all our projects in the North County and LA County and Ventura County. We have 5 years to complete all these projects. We have a combined total of 674 acres that have been authorized for treatment under the EPP. This marks the 10th consecutive week of ongoing project work across various locations. So these projects include work on both public and private land, which is essential for creating continuous defensible space and helping keep the entire community safer. So while some work occurs on privately owned parcels, participation is completely voluntary. If a homeowner feels uncomfortable with the work, taking like for example, roadside, for example, we fully respect that. Given the fast track and the nature of the efforts here, we simply will just pause the operations and move on to the next project site. Okay. So this is top of Topanga, top of Santa Maria Road in Dirt, Mulholland. This was our first strategic fuel reduction project to launch that happened back in September. LA County Fire began by conducting phase 1 of what they call a burn prep block, which included maintaining the existing fuel break that was implemented for the Palisades fire. They then constructed additional hand lines that served as control lines connected to connect to the existing fuel break. And so the idea behind this is in the spring, the team will then begin phase 2 of and burn out smaller sections. There should be 5 sections over there. So the total acreage treated through this effort is expected to be approximately 50 acres. That's it, just 50 acres. So the Summit to Summit project. This phase of the strategic fuel reduction project involved mastication treatments to improve the Summit to Summit fire road. So you can see the skinny orange strip, that's the Summit to Summit. Right there, Summit to Summit. Okay, and then they created a spur ridge off the main branch right here. And that's the area where they cut brush and piled it. And the idea is to have it cured for a couple of months. And then when time permits, they intend to do a pile burning operation. So let's see here. Calabasas Peak Motorway is currently where their apparatus is at, improving the Summit to Summit roadside fire road, 20 feet on each side. So their masticator will eventually get to Stunt Road, and then also thinning and clearing all the way to Red Rock Park. This area right here, oh sorry. Is the Henry Ridge Motorway. We don't have any property there, but this is another great area to show that we're not just focusing on our property, but as a whole, we want to support the community through these different treatments. It's really up to the community if they want it or not. It is free to them, the service, that, LA County would just go door to door and say, hey, this is a chipping weekend, chipping day. Do you want to partake? Do you guys want to have some clearance done, some free work done? And, community involvement would be wonderful. And if you guys, again, if someone said, hey, I don't feel comfortable with it, by all means, we're 100% going to respect that, and we'll just move on. So, pile burn phase. So this is, I want to be clear, this is with weather and fuel conditions permitting. Phase 2 of this project, which is the pile burning phase, will be implemented. So we have a lot of rain, as you can see, and we've had 5 inches of rain last week. We have maybe almost an inch of rain today. And I'll let LA County provide further detailed logistics on this, but it looks like we might have a suitable time frame for the 3rd week of December. And you can see the highlighted area of yellow is where they would start and end. Okay, so Painted Cave RX burn in Santa Barbara, I put that in there because, first of all, it's a mountainous community above Santa Barbara, with blankets of chaparral, major fire corridor. Painted Cave, if you know anything about, I was a major bike rider back in the day, cyclist. Very steep terrain, steeper than Topanga, and it's always on fire. Their last fire was in 2019. So their efforts, Los Padres Forest efforts, was to create these pile burns within the chaparral to prepare for the next major fire event. Now, it'll be interesting to see how it holds, and we don't have any data on that yet, obviously, because the fire hasn't come through. But what I can say, let's see here. Oh, sorry. This is one of LA County's fire projects in the Tonner Canyon. That okay, so a little bit about this Tonner Canyon RX burn. They have been trying to get in the environmental review unit to approve this for years. And when the EPP came about, they finally got their sign off this year. And so this was one of their big burns that happened in Chaparral. I think it looks like here there's some oaks here. So what they were probably doing was clearing the understory of this particular area. But it's nice to see how many resources they have at the very end here. Just a line of resources, making sure that this fire is well controlled and doesn't get away from them. And I would like to finish my presentation off with a success story. I don't have a picture to show you, but it is the bridge fire success story. So they put it in perspective. The bridge fire happened last year in the San Gabriel. On the north flank, officials reported that strategic fuel break projects were implemented between 2022 and 2024, playing a critical role. These treatments included mechanical thinning, chipping, mastication, and prescribed burn. And the fire originated in a decadent fuel bed in California Chaparral, where vegetation heights were ranging from 12 to 14 feet. Resources were limited due to multiple fire starts across the state and above, and both live and dead fuel were critically dry, with an energy release component registering above normal. As the fire moved along the north and northwest flanks toward the community of Wrightwood, mountain community, it burned through heavy chaparral on steep slopes. Despite these challenging conditions, the outcome was notably positive. The community of Wrightwood was saved, and critical infrastructure in the area was preserved, along with 17 historical structures and JPL. Thanks in large part to prior fuel treatment efforts, a mountain town of roughly 5,000 residents saw the loss of only 13 homes. The bottom line here is that fuel treatments are designed to improve firefighter effectiveness in defending life, property, and ecosystems. Thank you.
Thank you, Leigh. You guys, when you all came in, I don't know if you noticed that we passed out cards and pens if you have any questions. So if you would like to ask a question and you haven't got a card or a pen, we will send those out to you right now. Just hold your hand up. We'll distribute them. And also, if you came in late, there's six really great seats, 7, 8 really nice seats up here. So if you want to take a minute just to move and sit up here if you don't want to stand in the back of the room, it's available. And the other thing is we will just take a few minutes. If you've already written your question and would like to submit it right now, you can also send it to Seychelles or to Patty.
Can't read it out.
Well, you can. We're gonna get to that at the end. We're gonna try and get all the cards, and what we're gonna be able to do is see if we have similar questions so we can use the time effectively. So we'll do that, and then in a minute we're going to have our fantastic LA County Fire Department do their presentation, and then we'll do the questions. What? Yeah. Has anybody got any cards to pick up or finished? Or anyone has anything that's already been done? Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one. Okay. Come in. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I guess if we're all sorted here and we're all ready, then we will move to the next phase of our operation here, and we'll just push this little button here. Come forward, and we want to move right. So I'm going to turn it over to LA County Fire. This is your mic, and please go ahead.
All right, good evening. How y'all doing? Staying dry, hopefully. My name's Brad Weisshaupt. I am a forester for LA County Fire Department. We're a small little division, like a lot of environmentalists and stuff like that, that work to help develop a lot of these projects, as well as send you your defensible space notices annually. That's not me, though. It's another guy, Trevor Moore. And this is last time. But we have a couple roles like that. So I'm just going to give a brief background, kind of what we do as a whole, and then here specifically in the Santa Monica's with MRCA. So overall, right, the department's mission is protecting life, environment, and property. So I work in the Community Risk Reduction Bureau. That's where Forestry sits. And so it used to be prevention, formerly known as. So reduce wildfire risk, protecting communities, and protecting habitat, right? And trying to find that balance between all of those. So our main strategies for that are reducing ignitions, I'll get there, decreasing fire behavior, and then creating opportunities for engagement during fire suppression. So how do we do that? Focusing around communities in the WUI, Topanga being a large one, right? Where we can lower fuel loads, reduce ember production, and increase defensible space around homes. Along roads, we help decrease the likelihood of starts, cars pulling over, cigarettes, chains, different things like that. as well as allow a road to be used as fire line. And the third thing is there was a road to the west of town that was, they were all able to evacuate and get out in front of the fire, and fire personnel were able to come in without being affected by that fire along that road. And then we focused on ridges as well for strategic fuel breaks, which are opportunities for engagement for suppression, which Chief Smith will talk about here. So Leigh has covered a lot of this. She's kind of giving you an overview recently. Obviously, we had the January fires. Everybody was here. The Environmental Protection Plan was created through an executive order by Newsom to help fast track fuel reduction projects. Now, I don't want fast track to be confused with like losing regulation, right? We worked hand in hand. So this is over governed. So I'm not used to carrying a mic. I normally just yell at people, so you have to forgive me. So we worked hand in hand with the California Natural Resources Agency, CNRA. We're on the phone almost daily with Dudek Environmental, which is a nationwide environmental consulting firm, MRCA, and Forestry, and other members of the fire department, working on developing these projects and scoping these projects and letting the environment actually guide our projects, right? So the EPP was put together by this list of agencies here, and they all signed off on the EPP, and these are all basically any large environmental state level organization, right? Covering any sort of land, water, resource like that, vegetation, animal, anything. And so in the process, working with Dudek and MRC, we would actually go direct with a lot of these people, like California Fish and Wildlife, you know, talk to Jennifer Blackwell and several people like that, where we were working with them hand in hand to develop this project, right? And we actually let the last slide with ridge lines, roads, and everything like that, and this slide be our guide to help develop this project, right? The idea is to help Topanga and to help reduce the fire risk in and around the community. But how can we do that strategically? How can we be sensitive to the environment? How can we be sensitive to the resources? How can we best help the town, right? So we developed best management practices, and these are all online, and I'll get to that here in a second, that you can see and view and everything, and you can actually read our EPP and our report and everything's there. And sometimes I get lost in this stuff because I'm doing it every day and realize that like the public may not necessarily know where to look for these things, right? We help develop all this stuff, but it is published online and it's all out there. So a lot of it, you can find everything on the EPP under wildfiretaskforce.org, which is the California Wildfire and Forest Resilience Task Force. And this was set up years before the January fires to address catastrophic fires within the state of California. So you can find everything on the EPP and all the verbiage there. And then I'm actually going to, well, I'll go back. All right, I'll come ahead. So with these projects as well, we also have a lot of monitoring and timeline and implementation and everything like that. So we have a drone team with the department. We're a large department. We're lucky we have a lot of resources. And we were hired by the MRCA. They gave us a grant, $2.2 million, to help implement some fuel reduction projects and vegetation management projects on their land, right? So we're essentially hired as a consultant to help implement this stuff by going through what I was just talking about there, working with these research agencies, because that's what we do. We do it all the time, right? In the name of fire. So within our program, we're looking at monitoring these projects. So ancient history, I used to work for the National Park Service as a fire effects monitor. We'd go out and do prescribed burn plots all over and then go back and monitor them and measure the vegetation. So here we now have drones and all sorts of really cool technology. I just hire those guys. But we come out and we're doing before, during, after. We have drones with infrared and everything like that for all of our burns. Then we have after, where we're looking at vegetative response of the resources, right? When we cut something, how is it growing back? Is it growing back? Where are we doing? To make sure we're doing the right thing, that we're not exacerbating the problem. Like that's not what we're there to do. We're not there to increase the fire risk. We're here to reduce the fire risk. So this is a shot of our Tonner Canyon. with all of our photo points from the aerial and stuff like that. So we're monitoring these. And we'll do the same here. So a lot of this you can see online, and CAL FIRE, we submit all of our projects that we do, whether we're hired as a contractor, whether we're doing them ourselves, or for somebody else, through a system called CAL Mapper, and it's a statewide GIS database that's easily accessible online through a CAL FIRE website. I don't know the public-facing side of it, but we put it in all of our fuels projects all over the county, and every county within the state of California puts it in. And you can go in there and click on those projects and learn all sorts of information about them, acreages, dates, times, treatments, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I want to make sure you guys have that, and all these projects are already in CAL Mapper and are available online. Another place where you can find them, this one, I did have time. I don't know if it's showing up on the Zoom screen. I'm going to get out of your way here if you have some phones. I QR coded this, but this is the EPP website right here. And you can see from Cal EPA, CNRA, and CAL FIRE. And I clicked on our project, very similar to the map Leigh had up here, right, where you can view our stuff, and you can click in and read all about the project right there. And that may answer some questions. Obviously, we're going to answer a bunch for you tonight, but if you have some follow-up or looking for some more information or anything like that, you can click on that. Another website that is available, CAL FIRE runs a fuels treatment effectiveness website. And so this is when fires run into any sort of fuel treatment across the state of California. They have a system where they get a notification, and then we will go out and investigate that. There's a fuel treatment in your area, we had an ignition in your area, or there was a fire and stuff like that. And so then we'll go, and they ask, was there an impact from the fuels treatment? So on the Palisades fire, we have a fuels treatment at the Hellespot 69 Bravo, which I imagine a lot of you are fairly familiar with, where our crews reduced a lot of the fuel load and essentially created a shaded fuel break up there, and we now maintain it with goats on an annual basis. They were just up there spraying, and the fire ran into that. And there's a video from the Alert California cameras, which I hope you guys are familiar with that website as well, watching where you can see the fire behavior change dramatically as it hits the fuel break around 69 Bravo. But you can also go on there, and it has recent fire history, and you can click in around and find projects and where those fuel treatments have been impactful. So that is kind of what I was here to talk about, that we're working daily with MRCA. Leigh covered a lot of the overview type of stuff. My division, Forestry, are the people who are out there on the ground every day. We're helping DUDEC flag avoidance areas. We're working with the heavy machinery. We're working with the MRCA crews, the LA County fire crews, and everything like that, kind of as that intermediary liaison project manager on the ground on a daily basis. So maybe I gave you some more questions, maybe not. Hopefully I answered a few of yours. But that's the essence of what I wanted to address here tonight. And so I'm going to hand it off to Chief Drew Smith for a while.
Thank you, sir. There it is. Well, thank you, Bradley. I want to thank you for being here so you can have the information, you can talk to us. Drew Smith, I'm the assistant fire chief for the area. I've been in the department for 37 years, and I have a background in wildfire management. One is an incident commander, an ops section chief, and a fire behavior analyst and prescribed fire manager. So I live this every day. And so I can tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, the different things, how things work, how things don't work. But I want to start with, but we know what the end result is. And it goes back to what Brad was saying, Leigh was saying, is how do we manage it and how do we do it responsibly? And I want you to think about the term vulnerability. What vulnerabilities do we have, and what are we willing to accept, and what are we willing to do about it? The way that the Los Angeles County Fire Department can approach this is bigger than anybody else can because of our bench depth of our organization, our subject matter experts, and our partnerships that we have in the area. So things I want to caution you on is if you take deep dives into other treatments that happen or prescribed fire that has gone wrong, there's usually a reason why behind that. And I want you to look at this area, the Santa Monica Mountains, which we love. I'm a 4th generation Santa Monica Mountain guy.
I get it on how pretty it is out here and what it means to us, because it means a lot to me. The fire history map, if you take a deep dive in all these interactive platforms through the web, is validated. You can really look at some research and look at some fire frequency in those intervals. We know that there's those fire frequency intervals. We know that they are bad for the vegetation. But I want to tell you why. It's because Mother Nature's natural fire regime isn't here anymore like it used to be. It's because we have a man-made human element that starts a fire under the worst type of weather conditions to get the worst type of outcome. So if you want to take a deep dive on how the fire regime used to be, it is not this. But I will tell you, did we have fires that burned the Pacific Ocean in the 1700s, 1800s, the 1600s? We did. But there's a why behind it, and it wasn't from a man-made ignition in most cases. It was because of Mother Nature. When we handle Mother Nature fires differently than we do man-made ignitions, because they happen at different times and under different set of environmental conditions. So how do we adapt to protect what we love? There has to be a balance, and that's what we're here to go over, so we can protect that. Because when we have a major fire, and the history has been told for, let's just say, 100 years, we know what the outcome is. We've already seen the end result. So what are we willing to do to compromise so our lives don't get disrupted? We don't have economic loss. We don't have environmental loss. How can we do this responsibly and sensitively to the environment so we can live in the area that we love so much? So with that, I'm going to kick it to James or Ryan, because I'm sure there's a host of questions. And what my thought is we will field those based upon who has the subject matter expertise in each one of those arenas. So once again, I appreciate you being here, and I will kick it over either to James and or Ryan or Michelle.
Well, I'll start it off, and we have got a ton of questions, and they're great questions. So I want to see if we can keep the answers real short and get through all of them.
I better not hit the mic.
No, just so I want to have everyone up there. Leigh, this one's up to you. So just get ready, because we're going to come fast and furious. The first one is there a link to the chipping program that you mentioned? You mentioned that the MRCA was doing something in that regard.
Yeah, so actually it falls onto LA County Fire, and basically normally how it goes is you would want a right of entry to go onto private homeowners' land. So we're going roadside, but some of that land carries over to roadside, interestingly enough. So the idea behind that, because it's a fast track project, and right of entries take time, we thought, Forester, Evan Conklin and myself thought it would be better suited if we could do one weekend where the LA County guys go door to door and ask for permission. And if you guys want to buy in, if not, move on. So we don't know what it looks like for Henry Motorway right now, because we still have to complete all projects along the Calabasas Speed Motorway. And then again, we've got to prep for or LA County has to prep for the pile burn if it does come to fruition in the next spring or the third week of December. But you can always give me a call. You can always email me. You can email LA County, and we could figure out, maybe a better concrete schedule for when that can happen.
Can you quickly just describe pile burn from, say, broadcast burns, so that people understand the difference?
I can. So a pile burn is when we've done a fuel break, we have what is called wagon wheeling. And that's when we move all the brush and we pile it with all the thick stobs in. And then we go and burn them in location, because two things, we're doing it on that fuel break. Two, there's so much organic material that it is impossible to get it out unless we sling it out with a large helicopter. and we cannot get chippers onto the location because how steep the slope is. Broadcast burning is, if we back up to where you saw that we had that Tonner Canyon project, is we manage the intensity to meet the fuels reduction project objectives to broadcast burn and burn through the vegetation, managing the flame lengths and intensity to get the desired fire effects we want. And that's when Leigh also talked about being surgical. We can put fire on the landscape very surgically because not all fire applied reacts the same as how we manage the intensity to get the desired fire effects that we want.
Thank you. This question will be for Leigh because this was happened recently up on Santa Maria, and the question from the audience is, with the example of Santa Maria Road, can one person stop a project?
Very good question. No, not one person can stop the project. But at that point, we tried to reevaluate and we considered going back to the project. And then a second person came in. So it was kind of like we were jumping through hoops. Now, we can put that project on the back burner and revisit it at a later date, but we have to keep going with the projects. So, you know, I think we need to get a better general consensus, and maybe it's a thing where we get the community involved. You know, Ryan and I were talking about it, because we don't want to assume one person is speaking for everybody. So hopefully we can get a better idea. We'll put that project on the back burner, and then as time tells and we feel we have a good handle on it, we'll revisit that situation. I hope that answers your question.
This question is for, I assume it's for anyone, I guess. What steps will you take to prevent escaped fire like the 2015 San Felipe or 2006 Sierra fire? And how does your process differ from CAL FIRE?
Well, how do we mitigate that we're going to have a successful prescribed fire? It's with the appropriate weather window and the appropriate staffing. So we have significant history with Los Angeles County on doing prescribed fire. Last time that we've done it here has been quite some time, and that's a whole different conversation because I was involved in those. We staff completely different. We own our own aircraft. We own our own hand crews, our engines. So we staff very robustly, not because we have this fear of escape, is because we need adequate resources in place for the perimeter control. And also if we have to mop it up. So I don't want you to think that we bring all these resources out here for this very haphazard type of fire endeavor that we're doing. We do it because we have the bench depth to bring as much as we want and how we're going to manage that. So we do it as also training. We bring people out. We manage our anytime we do fires, anything very robustly with our resources. But I'm going to tell you one thing: when we go into doing prescribed fire, it has to meet certain parameters. We have a thing called a prescriptive window. We have stuff that we look at. If it's outside of that prescriptive window, everybody gets a stack lunch and they go home, and we evaluate it another time. And I've been on the front of having to send people home because it's too hot, too dry, too windy, too cold, too rainy. And if we're not going to meet the need or the fire effects or the desired results we want, we don't implement.
Okay, this comes off of Zoom. It's from Noah, who I believe must be with State Parks. How will the fuel breaks be maintained?
Yeah, you look about time you did one.
I know. It's like a game show. And I know Noah. Hi, Noah, if you're watching. How are you? So part of our maintenance and monitoring program is that we are going to return for aerial flights and create imagery and everything like that on an annual basis after the projects are done. And we're going to assess as needed each individual project and address accordingly, right? So this year we're getting a ton of rain right now as we're doing these projects. So there's going to be a ton of grass growing up in some newly cut areas and everything like that, right? So we're going to have to address it immediately in spring. So we'll have a return interval of less than a year. Whereas some other projects, maybe we've done them in some other times or something, or mechanical treatment, or some go grazing where it might be annual or semi-annual, or every even 3 to 5 years. It's all site specific and weather dependent, right? So that's why we do have a monitoring and maintenance program to assess those things, and then we make the call as needed. I hope that answers your question, Noah. I'll see you soon.
Okay, here's a really good one. What are the scientific studies from experts and objective evidence that controlled burns are effective and safe in a woolly chaparral environment? Evidence from other studies shows vegetation is replaced with invasive fuels.
And it can be replaced with invasive fuels. And I imagine whoever wrote that question is intimately familiar with the Chaparral Institute and Keeley and Richard Halsey, as am I. And there isn't, we have our fuels treatment effectiveness board, right? With strategic fuel breaks and stuff like that. And I know they've done a lot of research on return interval within the chaparral being anywhere from 30 to 150 years. And that any sort of intrusion into that chaparral can alter the environment, potentially lead to some sort of type conversion back into grass or something like that, right? So that is one thing we're looking at in this area, right? And so we're doing these projects and we're going to monitor and maintain them as they are with the widening of roads. So we looked at existing, summit to summit is already an existing road, right? You can go out and you can hike it. It's used as access for utilities and whatever that is. So all we're doing is maintaining off the side of that road a little more as an opportunity for engagement right there with those. So are there a lot of, objective studies that are published on the subject? No, there are not. There hasn't been a lot of research done within the chaparral. There is a lot of research done by Keeley, and he may be one of the only ones doing it. He often cites himself. I read an article of his where there were 52 citations, and he cited himself 24 of those 52 times. But that was before our online echo chambers existed. So I don't disagree with a lot of what he says. I really don't, right? I went to school for forestry. I live in the chaparral. I live in this environment right here, not very far from you guys. The one thing that a lot of the research that it ignores, and this is Chaparral Institute ignores, is what we've only tangentially addressed here, which is the environment has drastically changed in the last couple hundred years, from our climate to the number of people that live here, right? And it ignores that it's a hands-off management perspective. It's a preservationist perspective, which I do appreciate, being a former Park Service person. But we have to manage the resource wisely and manage our interaction with it, right? The resource will manage itself, but we're not managing our interaction with it. And we can see what happens when we don't manage that interaction.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the width of clearance you want on Henry Ridge? If it is already over 10 feet, will you allow pepper pine trees?
Yeah, so Henry, do you mind if I take this? Do you want? Sure, I'm on a roll. Hey, no. So we are allowing, so the way the fire code is written is it's a minimum of 13 feet wide, clear to the sky for apparatus. Now, we're not going to have a lot of you're not going to see a fire truck up there, probably. It'll be more the type 3 engine or type 6, because from those smaller, more agile vehicles, as opposed to a really long one you might see down in LA City or something like that. Yeah, we're still allowing the vegetation. Actually, existing trees, when they're well maintained, hold a lot of moisture and tend not to burn. Pepper trees and pine trees obviously drop a lot of litter and a lot of leaves, so if they're maintained underneath. What we're looking at doing on Henry Ridge is inviting the community to allow us either to work on the edge of their property right along the road, kind of like we're doing on Summit to Summit, but that's all MRCA, right? So it's easy. Or to pull some stuff out so we can chip it as we walk that chipper down the road. So all your existing, we're not going to try and mess with any of your vegetation or anything like that, but to try and get, 50 different rights of entry to do a mass project all along the side of the road and have everybody on the same page. We know it's never going to happen, so we're going to try and do what we can. And that one is much more for access and egress of all those residents to be able to get in and out. So, hey, maybe there's not a tree that's either blown down or dropping or, something like that right along the edge of the road, so we can clear out and limb up and move some stuff.
And I know you say clear to the sky, but I think you're more relaxed than that in a lot of places. There are areas where you don't require it to be cleared up to the sky.
Sure, yeah. Mhm. But I do believe the way the code is written.
This question is, it says, Drew, how many times has a prescribed fire gotten away from an LA County fire?
I can't answer that question. I know that the ones that I've been involved in this area that we've had success. As far as ones that I've been involved in, I don't know. And I'll probably say there probably was one or two.
There was one in the mid 2000s at State Park Land, Oliver State Park Land, and this was south of Mulholland, north of Mulholland Drive, and it went up to Liberty.
That's gonna be our next question.
Yeah, so, so that was still, so that's, there's two different things. So there's an escape fire, or there's something that's still within the project boundaries. Two different things on that. So that was still within the project boundary, but we have to look at two different elements. If you're looking at the worst, when have we had an escape fire that has caused significant destruction and devastation? I don't think you'll find that.
No.
You won't. But remember, when we have a prescriptive area, we have a maximum manageable area. And so if we, let's say, have something that moves, that we can keep it within the control lines, are we still gonna bring out helicopters, still gonna bring out other things to help with that intensity? We are. So there's, I don't want you to chase it, it's a great question, but I want you to chase this escape fire stuff like we've seen it happen in the news in the last year, because that is a different set of conditions. So I can say we have a phenomenal track record on keeping our fires contained to the project area, such as the one before that, you would remember, Susan, in Palo Camado Canyon, 93, 93, or 4. Very successful and played impact from fires that came in through there that entered Upper Las Virgenes Canyon. So I'm probably gonna couple in the next one. Go ahead with what you have. What do you have, James, on something about the state parks?
That was, the question that I had, that Berkeley was the same thing. So it one in 2000 that just said got away.
Yeah, it wasn't a getaway thing. It was within the project boundary that put it up into the grass line. So that was a habitat restoration project we did with Frank Padilla. And so we did it over 2 consecutive years to get rid of the star thistle. So the mule deer can come in grades, and it was a high success. So those who traveled that back in 2001, 2002, it was completely choked out, and they couldn't graze the mule deer. And now it does really well.
I was on that burn. That was a Las Virgenes and Mulholland around the Spanish Adobe. Yes.
Right.
Okay, the next question comes from Zoom. Are there prescribed broadcast burns currently planned for Topanga? If so, where?
Either one of us, all three of us can answer that. So on any of our fuels treatment projects, I want you to think of this. We have to use the right application for the right vegetation under the right conditions for the right end result. Can we do Henry Ridge? We can. Can we do summit to summit? We can. Can we do Santa Maria Road? The answer is yes. We're going to pick the right fuels treatment. Right now, the one that we have on the books is going to be Santa Maria Road as a broadcast burn for that. That's the one. But just remember, there's 3 treatment methods that we went over. We picked the right application for the right outcome, for the right resource benefit, which equals the community wildfire protection that we're all trying to achieve.
We can take a break right now, not really a break, but if anybody has any more questions, we can please hand them in. We're getting through them. If you have anything else, send them to Patty is there to pick them up. And just raise your hand and get them to her. We've got another one here. That basically it says, scientific research shows that vegetable treatments and prescription burns in the chaparral ecosystem often type convert native habitat to non-native invasive weeds, which increase fire hazard. Does MRCA have a long-term biomonitoring plan to monitor for type conversion? Is there a restoration plan in place if type conversion does happen? Well, scientific research shows that fuel breaks in the chaparral aren't effective unless they are maintained. Does MRCA have long-term funding to ensure these breaks remain effective, or will these fuel breaks be allowed to fill in with weeds?
So the idea is to maintain these fuel breaks. We put in plans in the EPP to maintain these fuel breaks that we've created. If we don't maintain these fuel breaks, there's no reason to even implement them.
Okay, this comes from the room. What is the county going to do about water deficiencies, i.e. hydrants, pumps, private tanks, water meters?
Water deficiencies in respect to a burn, to a wildfire, to drought? I don't quite get the full question.
The hydrants were dry on South Peak for 2 days during the frost.
That I can't speak to. That's more of a water department thing. I'm a plan section chief on a fire, developing a plan.
Fire department has to use water to put out fires. They don't know about it.
I probably should. We're a large department and it's not my area of expertise.
Whose area is it?
Water department.
Yeah.
Yes, fire department.
They were here last night too.
To put out fires.
There was a good discussion.
You're right, but what do we do to compensate for that? We use water tenders, because can we have infrastructure deficit? Yes, but I can tell you with the demand of, I'll give you 69 Bravo, which runs on District 49 water. 69 Bravo was not put out of service because ever did we have a lack of water. We had water. We had a deficiency in water because we were utilizing it. We overtaxed that system. We overtaxed the system. So and that was my area of responsibility on Saddle Peak. And there was areas that we had a deficiency or low volume of water because there was so much being utilized in the area.
Well, the electricity was turned off to the lift pumps. There was no way to get water up there.
So possibly, I can't speak to that, but I know that when I did not have a challenge with saying, hey, and my people saying that I'm out of water. For one, we always augment our response with water tenders to give that additional support. We have water tender shuttling that was going on to areas that were unaffected, which was on the north side of the hill, which was Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, because there was so much coming out of District 29's responsibility.
Maybe you should ask the Camarillo strike team that was up there.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. We don't want to take too much time on this. Okay, the next question is, what kind of community education is being done by official organizations like TCEP, Los Angeles County Fire, et.cetera., and grassroots so homeowners are more comfortable in participating? Can I answer this one?
Yeah.
I think
Let's can answer that.
I think this has something to do with it, and I'm glad that we're all here, and I'm really appreciative of everyone who turned out and everyone here participating in this. This is the kind of community education that we are trying to do, and obviously we need to do a lot.
Yeah, these same components, we just did at the Ready Fest. Yeah, Ready Fest. I forget the names each year, which we call it, so.
We're also reformatting and updating our webpage. We're working with the 3rd district to make it more public friendly, at least on the forestry side, because our organization may not make sense to you how we're set up, but now there are wildfire resources where you can go in and find home hardening or defensible space, or how do I set up a fire-wise community or a fire safe council, or how do I write a CWPP, and all those sorts of things that my shop deals with. We're trying to reorganize that to provide more education and address a lot of our fuels projects throughout the county. So not just this area. countywide by implementing maps and stuff like that. What's up?
Can you list those websites?
Fire.lacounty.gov. We're in the process of rewriting it. So it's at my level now, and it's gonna go up several levels to then be implemented by our web developers. So I wouldn't look for it until at least the first of the year, if not longer. We're building out the content and all the material right now. I can click back a couple slides for some of the other stuff, some of the websites I've mentioned on some of these projects if you want.
Yeah,
Or in the
sure.
future.
Yeah.
Okay, while you're, okay,
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
okay, next question. To be clear, are you talking about removing and burning brush down the slopes off of Henry Ridge?
No, Henry Ridge is just chipping. Just working along the ridge line on either side of the road, just road siding, extending that road width.
Another question. Where would a fire have to start and under what weather conditions would these fire breaks be effective in helping the Topanga community weather a fire?
You can dabble. I'll bat clean up if I need to.
Sure. So, working here, you have, I think it's approximately 4 million people that live towards the San Fernando Valley. I'm not sure exactly the population number.
Look at another polished map for you somewhere that we can look at.
Yeah.
You know. Stay there.
Yeah. So in a couple areas, right? 101, Calabasas, Topanga, Woodland Hills, all these areas. So the more people you have, the more chance you have for fire, right? You need 3 things. You need heat, fuel, oxygen, right? So that heat has to come from a source. Is that a car? Is that a cigarette butt? Is it someone malicious? I don't know. But the more people that are there, the more heat sources you have, right? So those fires are going to come out of the valley, come up slope, and come down this direction. So under optimal conditions, like today, it's going to be raining and it'll go out. But a lot of these fires can be fuels or topography driven, right? They're going to run uphill faster because fire is going to preheat with the convective heat. Or all the chaparral on those north slopes is going to help drive that fire up the hill. Even in moderate wind conditions, these will help provide an opportunity for engagement to help slow down or either stop the fire. It gives us a chance. Hey, if the fire starts down here and originates down here and we got a 20-mile-an-hour wind, which can often happen after a storm or a low front moves through and we get those Santa Anas when it's dry, we can then know that we have this here and we're not trying to pull out bulldozers or pull out hand crews and get them there out in front of that fire when we're not going to make it in LA traffic, right? We still have a chance to respond. We have a lot of resources staffing in this area. This is Chief in this area. He can speak to all the staffing that happens here. But knowing that this is here and knowing that we can engage right there and do all sorts of different tactics, and that is his shop, I'm not going to speak to that, from those pre-implemented strategic fuel breaks, gives us that opportunity.
This is great because we're doing great on time, so we have lots of time for questions and answers.
If you have a question, please write it
Submit your
down.
card.
Please put it on a card and write it
I
down.
think these are direct follow-ups, if that's okay. I don't know. I'm jumping out of line. Sorry.
Is it a direct follow-up? Roger?
Oh, yeah. Betsy didn't put this on a card. This is a very controversial, as we all know. It's a controversial issue. There are people that are for prescribed burns. There are people against prescribed burns. There are other people that are on the fence that aren't sure which way to go. Okay? I'm going to recommend that instead of doing a sales pitch, like we're getting, I don't mean to be sarcastic or anything, but rather than going about it this way, I think that what we need to do is we need to have a real robust debate between people that believe in this method and people that don't believe in the method. Throw it out there for us to all listen to and then make decisions on our own, whether or not we think this is the proper way to go or not. I appreciate what we're all up against. I understand that, okay? But, just to say that that prescribed burns may be the way to go, that may not be necessarily the fact. So I think that you presented something to us.
Okay,
We
that's
need
not,
now
this is
digest-
not exactly a follow-up. Let's keep with the decorum, point taken. Thank you.
Can I speak to it real quick?
Yes, please.
So one of the other things we look at though is cost effectiveness of strategies, right? So
Yeah.
I am paid by the taxpayer dollar, right? And I understand that. And we want to use the most cost effective strategy for the greatest impact. So just like you want to save money, right? You go out to buy something, you're not going to buy the most expensive one or the fanciest one, stuff like that. So in some of these areas, potentially could we go and have crews clear 30 or 50 acres? Yeah, but it's going to cost 10 times as much as a prescribed fire where we're just working around the edge and have the exact same effect. And so that is another factor, just to put into
There's
consideration.
a lot
for
of
your-
factors, and there's a third factor of insurance.
Roger,
Okay.
come on.
Sorry.
Okay, here we go. Next question coming off the Zoom. I applaud and respect the expertise and tireless work of firefighters and all local, regional, and state teams involved with protecting us with preparation, information, response. I doubt I would have a home if it weren't for your tireless efforts. That said, can we please spend some more time on the idea of pile burns? Tell us today that in 3 to 4 weeks during the holiday season, that there will be a large pile of debris burned in the close proximity to my family and home is very alarming, to say the least. Do I have that date correct?
You can, or I can. You need a break? You need hot water? So just remember that we have targeted times. I don't think anybody in this room right now can say what the weather is gonna be like 3 weeks from now. As I talked earlier, we have a prescriptive window that we look at, and we look for those optimal weather conditions so we can get the desired fire effects for pile burning, which is completely different than broadcast burning. We have to look at a lot of different, we have a lot of considerations to do. So that is a big maybe. We look at when we have the public outreach that we're gonna do, we make notifications, we make an understanding that we're going to do this. And then if we have the right set of conditions, then we implement. Pile burns are very benign in nature. Very benign in nature.
Is there a mitigation process for erosion issues that might involve with an unusually heavy rainy season?
Ooh, that is a great question. And so that's why I'll go back to it. We use the right application for fuels reduction for the right landscape. If we have too steep of slopes, we're going to have erosion issues. Prescribed fire may not be the right application for what we want to do. If it's thinning, we don't disturb the root systems. Anytime that we know that we have, Topanga Canyon's a great example. We've had a robust fuel bed and the whole mountain has come down before, true or false?
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can say it out loud. True. So we look at all these factors. We look at these factors. One thing we don't want to do is do a broadcast burn, have this great fire barrier that we just created, but then have something and have boulders go into somebody's house or mud and debris flow. We are very sensitive to that. So that's why it's the right application for the right piece of topography to achieve what we want to do. I want to point something out if I can. And I want you to look at this 2021 Palisades fire.
Yeah.
That's what saved Topanga Canyon.
That's right.
That's what saved Topanga. So I want you to look at 69 Bravo. That stayed in for the whole, we dumped 750,000 gallons out of that place in the first 24 hours, and it was shut down because of air speeds. And I had to slow it down because we had so many aircraft coming into it, but we kept that helispot 69 Bravo in service for that whole fire and just under 1 million gallons within the first 24 hours. And it went around it. It was in the success on the website, and it was done through mechanical modification and goats.
Right.
But we could have had the same effects doing mechanical modification instead of using goats. We could have done really nice 1 foot tall understory burn and had the same effects. 3 weeks with goats or 3 hours with prescribed fire with the same effects. So just to give you an example how we can manage the land to equal what we want, your 69 Bravo is a classic example of what can be done.
But the goats were happy.
We love the goats. I'm gonna say it again. I've said it to a lot of my friends that are in this room. I don't want you to think that we're here to put fire in the landscape. And that's what we do. We have told you and educated. We want the right information. We're gonna pick the right application for the right landscape. And fire, whether it's generated from Mother Nature or us, how do we mimic to get those results? We can do that. It's part of the ecosystem out here. It's out of that fire regime that's been changed. So can we mimic that responsibly? And the answer is yes. And we are going to look at those opportunities, but we're going to look at the right opportunities to do it.
Thank you. You may not know the answer to this, but you guys are a wealth of information and you might just.
It's Brad.
Are insurers more willing to insure residents within the WUI with controlled burns versus uncontrolled, no burning?
I don't think any of us can answer that because insurance companies can do what they want.
Yeah.
Anybody have, I'll poll the audience on that question. Anybody have a good answer, Susan?
The only thing that I've heard recently, in the, what insurance will look at to mitigate costs, is how you rebuild the house and how fire safe homes.
And the other thing you can do is you can be part of a Firewise community,
Yeah, you can.
as everyone in this room is, surprisingly. And believe it or not, everybody who's attending this on Zoom and everybody who is sitting in this room, the 2 hours you spend in this meeting are going to be added up and they're going to count towards the community service that we need to do to be a Firewise community. So this is a Firewise event, and I want to thank everybody for being part of that. The other thing you can do is you can do home hardening discounts with the California Fair Plan. You can harden your house and you will get an additional discount. You have a defensible space discount. You can do the defensible space around your house in the way that they like it, and you can get more money off of your insurance. So we can do that right now, today.
Just follow up. The MRCA or the fire department itself have insurance regarding covering home damage or loss should prescribed burn wood. You're insured for that?
We are self-insured. So I know that if we have somebody that does a claim, it goes through a process. How that looks, I can't answer that. I know that we're self-insured, and have we had to pay damage through comps and claims before? I'm not saying because of prescribed fire. I'm saying because of other circumstances, of course we have. That's something I will have to get back to you on because I can't answer that question, but we're self-insured. Maybe Susan may know from being in the Oval Office.
I mean, I really, Daniel might have a sense of that, but my understanding is that there's aspects of, I mean, you can always sue a department, whether it's roads or fire or whatever. How effective that is, I don't know. You can always sue. But as far as having specific insurance that's specific to the department that says if a controlled burn causes X or if this causes X, I think that's, and it's also probably has to do with where that property, what is it, like a state park? Is it MRCA land? Is it private land?
I'll find out on that. I'll get back to you.
I mean, the brief question is, we're one of the most underinsured communities
True.
in Southern California. And while we want safety, if this is a trial, and as you said, there's not substantial evidence about how this works in a chaparral environment, we are at great risk.
We're gonna, with time at the end of the day, we're gonna open it up to just comments. We just want to get through the
I'll
questions
with you on that.
as best we can as well.
I can answer a couple of those
And
questions.
we will, if we can get through these, open up for comments in general.
Daniel.
Hi, Daniel, the Supervisor Horvath's office. My job here is not to sell you guys on anything. It's to take what you were saying back to the supervisor's office The fact of the matter is, given that I don't have an answer to that, should be good news, because it is so rare that we would need to have an answer for that in the first place about prescribed burn not going well. These gentlemen up here, our partners at Fire, are not going to say this. We have one of the best fire departments in the world. Hands down, they are known for going around the world and training fire departments who are up and coming in disaster prone areas to give them information that they need to stay safe about these things. These prescribed burns only happen under very specific and tight guidelines. When we look at fires that have gotten out of control recently, we look at Woolsey, we look at Palisades, we look at Eaton. Those all happen under very specific, non-topography driven conditions. They are not going to be doing these prescribed burns on a day where there is any kind of wind, and they're agreeing with me up there. So nothing is 100%. That's just the fact. I wish it was. It would make my job a lot easier. But I can tell you that we have the best people, some of the best people in the world doing this for you. And I would feel I would feel very good about the people running this and making sure that you guys are safe. So if you have concerns, you're always welcome to reach out to our office. But given the fact that I don't have an answer to your question, none of us do, that means that that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we don't know right off the top of our head. I'll note it here, I'll get an answer back for you. But I just want to say that because I know they're not going to say that themselves. But I would feel very good about the people managing this. We can catastrophize all day. We can't be 100% about anything, but they're only going to do these under the right conditions. And I'll take back what you guys are saying to the supervisor. But I would feel good about the people managing this.
And Brian, you have another question?
Yes, here's a quick one. What is the difference between a prescribed burn and a cultural burn?
I can do. The answer is yes on that. Yes, you can. Go ahead.
So cultural burns are from people who were here before us, right? Any sort of native tribe or anything like that has the indigenous knowledge to be able to apply those burns on their lands for specific reasons, no matter where that is within the contiguous United States and Alaska, I suppose. Whereas a prescribed burn is called a prescribed burn because we're trying to fit a prescription, and it's typically done by an agency, right? A fire department, Forest Service, BLM, something like that, where we're fitting it into a window. So there may be slightly different goals, slightly different methods, and different things like that.
I Googled it, that's pretty much what they said. It said that the cultural burns are traditionally.
You always have to
led
believe
by-
Google, right? Everything I Google.
Who does cultural burn?
Typically led by indigenous
I know,
people.
but anybody,
No.
so I thought.
Yeah, the main difference being led by indigenous people. So we have a couple of questions. We're going to try tie these together, because we've gotten a lot of questions like this in some way, shape, or form concerning fire breaks. Right now, who is maintaining the fire breaks that were cut in Topanga during the Palisades fire? Breaks are on state and MRCA lands, and then I'll tie into it is the one that says on Adamsville and Beers north of Summit. Was this an old break or fire road, or was it new? Adamsville and up at Summit, and then of course they want to know how are they currently being maintained?
So a lot of the breaks that were put in, what happens on a fire is we have resource advisors and we do fire suppression repair. So CAL FIRE comes in and we act as an agent of CAL FIRE. And so they have fire suppression repair specialists, Forest Service calls them resource advisors. And as the fire is dying down, we are rehabbing any sort of lines that were put in on that fire that may have been used for fire suppression or as contingency or something like that, by providing water barring, by pulling back brush that may have been cut over those roads to deflect from rainfall and for erosion and different things like that. And there's all sorts of methods. You can find a lot more of it online with that suppression repair type of stuff. So as to the maintenance of those, if they're existing roads, they're going to be maintained by that particular agency. If there's some of the motorways that we maintain, we do that on an annual basis after it's done raining. With fuel breaks and different things like that, again, it's typically more of an annual or biannual basis, depending on what grows back and where and how. Since this is really our first rain, we had about an inch in October, and now we have this 6 inches here since January. We are looking at, to go back and potentially help maintain some of those on some other land, like what MRCA and state parks. But if they are on their land, then they have that, or choose to let them go fallow or replant, So we're not a land management agency, we can just help advise. But it's more of an annual basis, not like a daily basis on maintaining that kind of stuff.
Here's one, Fish and Wildlife is a government agency. Our independent biologists hired to study the breeding species and birds that occupy the chaparral during their annual migrations before a burn.
Yes, so we work with Fish and Wildlife. We're working with DUDEC on this project. We do something called Rarefied California Natural Resources Database, where we do a quad search for any threatened and endangered species, federally listed, California listed, like state listed, locally listed. But we also account for nesting season. So California gnatcatcher is obviously a large species, any sort of sagebrush or anything like that. Mostly like California sage, Artemisia, and different things like that. So we do account for nesting season, and we do flag avoidance areas within that type of habitat. And a lot of times, like I talked about initially here, we let that help guide our projects. And if there's a huge area where there might be some migratory bird or some nesting species or some known, nest or something like that, our best option and easiest option is just to avoid that area entirely, right? And to go around it and find alternatives, alternative ridgelines, alternative roads, and different things like that, because we don't want to impact that resource. And that's all part of finding that balance.
Okay. I can answer this rather quickly because we talked about it. Give serious risks of fires. Why not pursue goats and mastication without fires? Can't we achieve the same end results more safely? I think we talked about that tonight and answered it, that it's a three-pronged approach and the tools are selected for the methods appropriate and needed at the time. And that's what you've been doing and continue to do. This one is, if we don't follow some fuel reduction plan, what will the chances of Topanga surviving when the fire comes through?
Sorry, I missed you.
If we
We were chatting about goats.
this is a good one.
And yo-yo.
If we don't follow some fire reduction plan, what will the chances of Topanga surviving when the fire comes through?
Purely speculative. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah.
If you want to go down science and look at what's unburned and under the conditions that we have, and you model it, I think my first presentation in this canyon was in 99, 2000.
Yep.
And it's been modeled, and the reason it didn't happen is because of this.
Exactly.
And the vulnerability, and I use that term quite a bit, is North Topanga Canyon between Santa Maria Road and the top of Topanga.
Right.
That's the last piece that has not burned in this area in a long time. So why do fuels reduction projects help? At least it's not an experiment. It's not an experiment. We've done this, and I've done this across the nation in the same type of fuel beds. And it's not all about prescribed fire. It's about reducing the fuel loading, reducing the energy release that comes out of the fuel bed, because what does that equal? The combat of fire and what our opportunities are to engage. When you have fire that goes through the landscape at 25 to 35 to 45 tons per acre, the energy release that comes out of that fuel bed, a lot of times it does not matter how many air tankers you have, how many fire engines, how many bulldozers, how many hand crews, and the end result, you can look at it. We know what the end result is. So how do we break from beautiful brush to a mosaic broken landscape responsibly to reduce the potential and energy release that is going to potentially come down into this community? What do we do? Nothing? Hope?
Good question.
No.
No.
Right, exactly.
We have to take action and we're all in it together.
Right.
And we have to do it responsibly.
And that leads to our next question, which says, why does TCEP and the Fire Safe Council support this project? And this is a good question. And I will answer it from Fire Safe Council perspective. And that is, we started our Fire Safe Council around 2010, 2011. We've been at this for a long time. One of the things that we learned is that there's a lot we can do as homeowners, as individuals, to harden our houses and make this whole place safer. It's very important. The other thing that we can do is we can support these people who put their asses on the line when the S hits the fan, if you could excuse me. But when these people are out there, when we've done all we can, the fire blows through, these guys have to go out there. So that's why we felt it was really important for them to have a platform and have a place for them to make a case for stuff that they sincerely believe is in our best interest and will keep us all safer. And I would just say that if you have a problem with any kind of technique, I think we all have our own opinions and we're all free to make our own opinions. And I would just say the other thing we should always be thinking about is what we can do on our own to make it safer. And that's home hardening is very important. It's going to make it so much easier for these guys. We get to live in this place, but you know what? As soon as we build a house in this place, it's not natural anymore. We made it unnatural. We put a toxic thing right in the middle of this beautiful area. So the more we can keep that thing from burning up, the better off we are. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay, this probably can be answered pretty quickly, and I can probably answer it quickly. This may be the wrong crew to answer this, but I'm most concerned about arsonists. Are you working with LAPD in a wind condition to have extra police presence in the Topanga area to deter arsonists? And of course, that is a law enforcement question, but of course, we do know that the fire department during high wind, red flag conditions do staff extra people and do put extra resources on when that does happen.
I can answer that for law. So let me tell you what we do on our high-risk days. We notify the communities we have a high-risk day. We put people with a position that they have the most information, know that there's vulnerabilities. We talk to Lost Hills. I talked to who is now Captain Carr. We have Arson Watch. I also talk to my community brigade members to go out and patrol. I talk to my call firefighters and I say, you are going to work today. And that's what we do. And so between law enforcement, who has an augmented staffing presence, we have active patrolling from an augmented staffing presence with our patrols. We have our community brigade members that are on active patrolling. This is what we do because we want to identify we have a fire start, because if something happens within the first 15 minutes on a high risk day, it's a maybe that we'll keep it out of the canyon. That's how fast fires move. And so we have to have the earliest warning we can with radio communications to launch what we can launch to combat the fire. So it is a very proactive approach. Plus our 69 Bravo cameras, Alert California.
The Alert California cameras, our dispatch can actually move those cameras.
Yeah.
Those cameras can now triangulate a latitude and longitude, so we can figure out where that condition is coming.
That's the proactive approaches we take. And at Lost Hills, besides our dispatch center, we have people monitoring at Lost Hills Sheriff's, the real-time watch center. That's correct every time, because I was going to call something else. I always called it the Fusion Center because Gen C2 didn't have a name for it. I got it, the Fusion Center. So a real-time watch center.
Who will be deciding if the road is closed or not, like last time?
That's a conversation that we have with
Does it change?
Lost Hills Sheriff, and it's a negotiation with Lost Hills Sheriff's Department, CHP, and Caltrans.
So
The county doesn't have,
No, but you
Oh,
remember when it was high fire risk, they
we have done it before.
closed
with
it for
residents
locals
only.
only.
Locals
Who
only.
made that decision?
That is a decision made by Captain C2 at the time, now it'll be Captain Carr and myself.
So
Is
that's-
it in the best interest for residents
So
only?
tell, I think we liked it.
Okay, moving on. The next two questions The next two questions were directed to TCEPs. I will quickly answer them. Does TCEP support this project? TCEP does support this project. We support this project because we do believe that between the three different choices we have, we believe that, as Chief Smith mentioned, the Palisades fire, the original Palisades fire helped save because of the fact that it burned a lot of brush out. We believe that the Owen fire burned some brush back on Santa Maria, and that was extremely beneficial. We believe that the Franklin fire that burned down to PCH up by Pepperdine stopped this fire's progression into Malibu, which was devastated by it. So we do know, we do believe that reduction, we are aware of all the other issues that go with this, but we do believe that we have a fantastic fire department. We think they're one of the best in the country, if not on the planet. We do believe that they have assets. People talk about fires that run away in New Mexico and a variety of other places that do not have the resources that LA County has. The helicopters, the quick reaction force, 3,000-gallon Chinook helicopters, the number of fire trucks, the camp crews on the prescribed burn I was at that I made reference to that took the thistle out of Malibu Creek State Park. I stood on that hill amazed at the number of camp crews lined the entire burn area. They could almost hold hands. They were so close to each other. The orange jumpsuits all around the fire. So we do believe that best practices, we trust the fire department will do the right thing at the right time and be extremely careful with it. So we do believe in the project. The second question is, can you talk about preparedness, drills, guides, what community can do to help life at home? So Ryan mentioned one of the most important things, which is harden your home. Do brush clearance, harden your home. If you hear an evacuation, make plans. The Topanga Disaster Survival Guide has taught so many of the folks, you need to make plans, you need to evacuate early, you need to prepare yourself, you need to make plans, and you don't wait until the evacuation order comes to figure out what you're going to do. You do have, it is now printed, we have what we call the Cliff Notes to the Topanga Disaster Survival Guide, known as the Topanga Disaster Evacuation Guide, which is a Cliff Notes, a glove box edition that will just cut the preparedness stuff out, and will just deal with evacuations and the specifics of evacuations. And so those are some of the things. Oh, and what we're hoping to do through the temp task force, I think most folks know that we co-chair together with Office of OEM, and all these folks up here are partners in it. We do something every year, a drill on exercise. This year, it was Ready Fest. Next year, we're talking about doing a evacuation drill again. And so we'll have to figure that all out, figure out when it's gonna, it seems extremely appropriate for the conditions that we're currently facing and have faced.
Yeah. And that perfectly into another question, and we're getting through the questions. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. We'd be really happy to get through all these so we can, everyone's question can be answered. Where does Topanga sit in terms of evacuation time modeling, and how does mitigation change that?
Oof. Who wants to do some math? What's the center of town to Pacific Coast Highway in miles?
6.5, or 4.5.
3.5. Okay, let's do that. And then, how many feet would that be? What's the average length of a car?
25,000.
Well, my point is, if you look at the Palisades fire, before we had impact to the mouth of Topanga Canyon, we had 5 to 6 hours. Right? It's going to take quite a bit of time if we're looking at 12,000-ish people, depending on day, whether it's night, whether it can be, which we do manage the road system ahead of time, has a significant advantage. So I feel that the time modeling can be very skewed, because it's also based upon when you get the notification, everybody is going to be ready, they're going to be set, and they're going to be in the go mode. Question to the audience, does that always happen?
No.
No. So it's going to take some time. It really is. So I'll talk on evacuations. What is our first priority? Isolating the canyon with road closures. New Canyon and Mulholland. Old Canyon and Mulholland.
Right.
Some Stunt, Sharon, And then also Pacific Coast Highway and Topanga to manage the road system is the first priority. Second priority is then evaluating what route of traffic route that we're gonna take. But the first thing we have to do is control the interceptions. So it's gonna take time. And even when we had plenty of time, we did evacuation in the canyon. Did everybody do that? No. No. Why? Don't feel like it? Doesn't matter. We'll just hope everything goes okay.
They didn't realize the threat. Potential.
6 hours ahead of, oh my gosh, we have something we have to deal with anyways. That's what, go ahead, James, sorry.
No,
Squirrel.
no, thank you. Okay, next question I have here, I kind of think I know where this came from. Can Topanga get proper off-road or 4x4 capable vehicles for our specific terrain? Or 4x4 fire trucks, motocross, motorcycles?
I want one. So we have, fire apparatus has different capabilities, larger trucks, smaller trucks. We do have side-by-sides or QRVs at our disposal to use for the right application. I can tell you that with the fuels reduction projects on motorway systems or fire roads, you'll hear fire breaks. We can manage those with our QRVs, if you want to call them a side-by-side, we can manage those. We can manage them with our Type 3 engines, which is built for brush fires that has 4-wheel drive capabilities. We have water tenders that have 4-wheel drive capabilities. So we have those capabilities and we have to use them for the right fire at the right time. So our department has all of those. Plus, we have those cool helicopters that we insert those pan crewmen that land and they start cutting line.
Huh, I've got one. We finally figured out what the person wrote.
Must have been a doctor.
Exactly. It says historically, the larger unburned area along the north slope ridge between Encino and Calabasas is of concern. Will the 3 projects be sufficient?
No. So this is, all these projects are not the end game that it's gonna solve our problems. It's a step in the right direction. If we can manage the landscape adjacent to homes, it gives us value on evacuations with time, tactical opportunities of engagement. But by no stretch of the imagination do any of these projects stop a wind-driven fire. You cannot stop an ember cast at 3 miles plus into any type of setting that has a receptive fuel bed. Whether it be open wildlands, whether it be intermixed with structures, interface with structures, or a built environment. These are not going to do that. These will tell me, and I will tell you, if we have an 80-degree day, a southwest wind of 3 to 5 miles an hour, it'll go to the top of that ridge, and that fire most likely will fall in space. Because we stop fires at roads, ridges, and rivers. Those are tactical points of opportunity, but you have to remember, these things also come into play. These strategic fuel breaks, fuel management projects play a role, because when the fire relaxes potentially at that area and it's moving somewhere else, it gives us a tactical point of opportunity to obtain perimeter control, because we have to get a purchase to continue to extinguish the fire. If all the fires stopped at roads, we wouldn't even be in this room. They don't. So we have to look at what tactical opportunities.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes.
I heard that before.
Don't worry about it.
I need to change that. Is that those play a role in our tactical suppression opportunities. But I don't want anybody to think that this is going to save everything that we know and love, because it is not. Sorry, Ryan.
No, good. Good, good. answer.
Okay, we're winding down to the question part, and we've answered almost all of them. But just one more here from the chat, and then we'll open it up for
Wait,
comments.
one more after that.
Okay, two more. Follow up to the question about timing for pile burns. With the understanding that timing is a moving target based on weather, etc., what is the time frame for advance notice? Some folks may want to be prepared to exit, etc.
All right. Yeah, we both can do it. So, we don't spring it on you overnight. We don't do it the day before. It's like merging onto the freeway. It takes a little time. We will give that we have a proposal that we are gonna do a pile burn on a targeted day. We like to give a week looking into that. But what's funny is we've done that before. People show and go, dude, what happened? You didn't, what? Yeah, we canceled it because we didn't have the right prescription. We like to give through the community or the people that are gonna be involved. We do at least a week. At least a week.
And finally, please give any reasons why we cannot have a fire station at top of Topanga.
MRCA won't give us the land. Will probably let him, where's Will at? He'll probably let me, yeah.
Could do it at Will's.
Yeah, try that, yeah. So actually for our fire stations, we have our mutual aid partners, which is Los Angeles Fire Department. So we have a cooperative agreement with closest resource concept for not just fires, but for medical emergency, traffic collisions. So your service area from 69, from 68th in Calabasas, LA City is there. So I would like to have a fire station up there, but I could tell you that if we went by response and call volume, it wouldn't substantiate putting a fire station there. It just wouldn't because of the call volume. I think it'd be cool because that'd be a great place to put one, great view. But yeah, so.
Okay, so we're gonna end the question portion of the evening and we're gonna go to comments. And so we're gonna set a microphone up for the audience to step up to.
You would like to comment?
Make comments. We're gonna limit you to 1 minute because we only have 13 minutes left.
Yeah.
Before we have to leave. So have at it.
And I'm gonna give that in case you want to ask any of our panelists here, I'm gonna give them the mic if they want to reply.
You're up. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for putting this on, and I'm deeply grateful for everything you do. I just want to invite, I'm a member and there are other members of Arson Watch. We're volunteers and we're here. And I'm inviting everybody here and everybody on Zoom to volunteer for Arson Watch. You can you can email info@arsonwatch.com, and then we have more eyes in the canyon for potential human nefarious fires.
Thank you.
Next up.
I was gonna say, this is a first.
Hi, sorry, this is a question. For some reason, my question wasn't asked. Why were the prescribed fires stopped and the maintenance of the fire breaks stopped? Because we were allowed to do pile burns when I was a kid, and they would always do prescribed burns all over in the park. Yeah.
There was a shift, so prescribed fire and fuel break maintenance was pretty robust up until about 25 years ago. And then through opposition, we held back. And so, and I think that there's some failure in that, because now here we are trying to reintroduce a practice that we know is true. So we're going to look at opening up these strategic fire breaks that we know that we have, maintaining them, and everybody's land ownership is different. So I can say that in my division, anything that Los Angeles County Fire Department is responsible for, and or we have prior agreement with, we maintain them every year. We have through the Santa Monica Mountains and extending into Ventura County doing the same. So a lot of these areas that are reopened were open before. Nuts.
It's painful.
Great question. Thank you.
Unless we have any other questions, maybe we can end this up.
Yeah.
Susan.
Oh, animal question.
It is an
I
animal.
knew it.
It's for you.
I knew it.
So you hire goats, right? And they get paid.
You know what?
Are they on
They
the,
haven't- they
will
haven't
work,
done Yeah,
okay, so that will work for food.
they will work for food. So that's a good thing on the goats, but I'm glad you're here. One of the reasons that prescribed fire may be an option and mechanical modification and not the goats. Goats don't like to eat something that's too big. This monster brush with no fine fuels, there's nothing for them to eat. They are not beavers. They're goats. So they like that nice, easy stuff. They love poison oak, by the way. That's what they need. We could use them in understory stuff, but the huge brush where there's limited fine fuels, goats do not do well in it all because there's nothing for them. I knew it'd be an animal question.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Animal. Dennis, get on the mic so the people in Zoom can hear you. No, the people in Zoom need to hear you. We have 60 people.
Control burns, consider the animals.
That's funny that we do. So we do surveys. And so before we go out on a project, we survey. I am not going to stand here and tell you that no animal will be harmed. It could be a kangaroo rat, it could be a snake. But we don't go out if there's habitat that's there. But I can say I've been doing this long, we don't go and do these. And also things that we do is we can go and walk and disturb. We can send our hand crews to walk and disturb, and we don't have herd of deer running out of the brush. Do we have bunny rabbits and some other things that are underground? We do, but I'm telling you now, we don't go out there and see all these dead carcasses all over.
So it's slow burn.
It's a very slow burn. The way it's applied, it's not a raging head fire that's gonna go out there and run faster than a rabbit can go. You know, the rabbit will be able to escape. And as Chief Smith was saying, we do a lot of background work and we're scoping these projects where our fingers do the walking through our rare find database, 9 quad searches, threatened and endangered species and all that kind of stuff. And we do as foresters, we're going out there and surveying those areas to see if it matches what we have found online through these sort of databases. And we're flagging that kind of stuff. And again, it guides our project to avoid it. And if not, I've looked under sagebrush, you know what I mean, to see if there's anything there. We did a project on the east side and we were looking for cactus wren. So we just took out all of the prickly pear areas and we only burned the grass adjacent to those and removed a couple acres from our project area due to that, you know, and the birds can fly away and come back as long as we're not like, you know, it's such a low intensity burn. It's not going to burn that tree or that sumac or anything like that. And we're avoiding nesting season. So we have a lot of mitigation and control that we do for all sorts of animal and plant species.
That's a good point. So I want to also talk to, can we yes and can we yes? Can we totally nuke the ground so it looks like the moon? We can, yes. But that's not the desired effects we're looking for. That's the effect you saw on the outcome of what we're living today. Right. We can go and be surgical on the application of fire, and it gets this surgical. We have a area that we want to do. We want to get rid of 100% of the dead and leave 50% of the live. We can do that by managing fire on the landscape on how we do that. So I don't want you to walk away thinking that we're going to do these burns and it's going to look like the moon. We can do that. And in some cases, we need to do that like we did in the state parks to get rid of the seabed and how it looked. That was the desired effects that we needed to obtain. So when spring came and the rain came, we had all this nice green grass for all the animals to come and eat. But we can surgically apply fire to the landscape to get the desired result on removing the amount of tons per acre. So if we set out that we have 30 tons per acre, can we remove 15 of those tons just in dead fuels and leaving 30 to 40% of the live fuels that are there? The answer is yes. And it's done based upon the fine fuel moisture content, the dead fuel moisture content, and the live fuel moisture contents that all have a balance of how they react when fire is applied, based upon outside air temperature, relative humidity.
And you know, the oak trees are protected.
We love us some oak trees. We love understory burns, by the way.
Adapted.
They are.
What I think we all need to understand is that you're not going to be burning oak trees.
Oh, no, we love oak trees. Well, we want more oak trees. And if we want the oak trees to survive, we have to get this big brush that's gonna impact us. They have high boiler moisture. It's like fire hitting a wall. But if we don't manage around them, we're gonna lose them.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Are there plans to,
Are there any plans to replant more oak trees?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
pass this to Leigh from MRCA because they are actively planting oak trees.
she has some in her trunk if you want to.
So this, stemmed from the Woolsey fire. So the Woolsey fire, it came from Santa Susana area and it made its way through Calabasas and jumped the 101. So what we wanted to do was to bridge that gap by planting a perimeter of oak trees, because oak trees are natural born timber catchers.
Yes.
So
Yep.
in 30 to 40 years from now, the idea is that we're gonna have this, it's gonna be the first line of defense, so it doesn't go all the way to the ocean.
And NPS has been planting dozens and dozens of oak trees in Kensborough.
Yeah, we have a native nursery on Las Virgenes, right at Payuma, right there across from Old Camp Gonzales, where they're growing all sorts of native plants. Oak trees included, up to 5-gallon size that you can pick up for free as members of the public.
Big times gifts.
942 Las Virgenes, has a big Smoky Bear sign right out in front.
But, well, go for it.
yeah. So I had the opportunity to go through 6 days of brigade training. I've done on some. Yeah. Coming on the fence on this issue up until the training. We had experts come in that fought fires in Australia. They fought fires in Alaska. They fought fires in the Rocky Mountains and here in California. They didn't all come in successively at the same time. They didn't come in and listen to each other. One common theme, a lot of us Topangans take a lot of hits. The West Malibu guys like to make fun of us. But one thing that everybody said about Topanga is we're in trouble. There's danger around us. And I think managing the environment in a responsible manner is something we need to do. We can't look to State Farm. We can't look to the zoning people or the planning people to approve our permits. We got to preserve what we have here. We have to fight for it. And we have to do it with balance. I trust these people. You don't pay good people and tell them what to do. You pay good people to tell you what to do. These are good people. So just want to say, thank the director. And on that. I have to know we have one more comment.
Too many more comments.
Yeah, well, I just want. Yeah, well, sorry, I haven't eaten for a while, but I just wanted to present some other concerns that I have. And
Get a little closer to the mic.
Oh.
Bring it up.
30 seconds before we get shut down.
Yeah.
Well, let me get through it. Most of the scientific studies, or all of them I'm familiar with, don't endorse prescribed burns or mastication or chaparral. It destroys the integrity. It allows invasive grasses to come in, and they are a true wildfire risk. And it is difficult to get rid of them. Yes, it can be done, but they must be restored. it dries out the area around the perimeter, so the chaparral that's existing will be more desiccated and therefore be more likely to burn. And so I think that this really does need to be considered, and it sounds like the library is. However, I have the scientific studies, and I'd like to remind you that there's more and more documentation about the ill effects of wildfire smoke, not just house wildfire, but wildfire smoke on people's health. So that is more news coming out.
So thank you, everybody. We are done for tonight. We love you guys.
Thank you.
It's great to be at Topanga. Love all you guys.
Thank you.